Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we discuss the astrological energies of April 1st to April 8th, moving into one of the most active and dynamic months of 2026. And we begin this new month with a bright, vibrant Libra full moon, which will be exact at 12 degrees of Libra at 10:12 p.m. Eastern Time. So for some of you, this full moon will occur on April 2nd. I'm going to touch on that a little bit more here in just a moment, but I wanted to start with the fact that there is a big launch happening on April 1st here in Florida at the Kennedy Space Center. Artemis 2 is launching and is going to be doing a 10-day mission where the main intention is a lunar bypass, meaning this is going to be a manned launch with 4 astronauts who will be in a capsule at the tip of the rocket. And over the course of 10 days, they will be doing this interesting configuration through space and then make a lunar bypass tour around the dark side of the moon before returning back to Earth and landing in the Pacific Ocean near California. So they are not landing on the moon. They're just touring it, if you will, collecting data, observing, figuring out some other key components. However, I always go a little bit deeper into inquiring about these missions because we know there's been a lot going on with the moon and China's intentions to replicate the moon as well as mining on the moon. There's been a lot happening on the moon as well as within the moon. That's what I've been sharing with you psychically for a number of years now, is that the moon is like a beehive and there's a lot going on inside. So to do a mission to bypass the moon, especially the dark side of the moon, means there's probably much more going on than meets the eye. And it also brings a focal point to the moon and the importance of its place in our solar system. They are also testing new technologies, and this is meant to be very significant in terms of the trajectory and objectives of this mission. So we'll see how it plays out over the course of these next 10 days. I will be watching the launch live since it's occurring in my area. So that is one theme going on with the moon this week. The second theme, of course, is this Libra full moon. And then the third theme associated with the moon is Easter coming up on Sunday, April 5th. Easter is a lunar holiday. It is always celebrated the Sunday after the first full moon, which is happening now, after the Aries equinox. And that's why Easter is a movable feast holiday. It changes in its date based on the lunar cycle. And so it certainly highlights lunar energies that are occurring right now. Now let's get into the astrology here of this Libra full moon that is highlighting the emotional needs in relationships. That would be the full moon amplifying Libra themes, bringing to your emotional awareness what you are seeking and needing in your connections with others. Think of Libra as the divine mirror, the other, those that you interact with, ideally those that you agree with, but Libra is also the energy of what is called open enemies, those you disagree with. You have a different opinion, different perspective than they do. So Libra seeks to bring harmony into areas of ourselves and areas of our lives that are out of balance, where there is discord or disagreement, and seeks to find those win-win solutions. Now, the full moon in Libra is bringing your attention to what you're holding in an emotional capacity around those themes. And it could be highlighting for you themes that you're seeing in yourself first and how they are coming about through others or through external circumstances. Libra wants you to objectively assess what needs to be improved. Where do we need to have a conversation? What do we need to solve together? What do I need to do differently, and or what do I need to choose differently? because Libra is also about choices. So there may be some important choice points that are arriving here in relationships, showing you where you want to go forward, where you're ready to grow and expand, that next level version of yourself even that you are sensing, whereas the other side of Libra could show you where you've been, what you've already been through or experienced in relationships, connections, partnerships, what you've learned from them, how they have provided you with important information, and then what to choose next. And so there are strong choice points here around what you're feeling yourself gravitating towards, as well as how the forward momentum of April is coming through quite strongly. Now, this full moon is also squaring Jupiter in Cancer. And since Jupiter in Cancer is ruled by the moon, Cancer is the ruling energy of the moon, there's heightened emotional intelligence and personal awareness pulsing through. You might even feel it in your heart space, which is something that Jupiter in Cancer is amplifying. You might feel yourself expanding and growing emotionally, and it's overriding your logic or linear thinking. There's an expansive quality with Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, meaning it is quite strong and free to express itself in this sign. And because it's squaring that moon in Libra and the sun in Aries, it makes something bigger. There's an emotional push that comes through, and it strengthens the heart. That's how I'm seeing it, at least. And I'm feeling like there could even be a lot of emotions bursting forward, or a lot that's ready to come out that maybe has been contained or withheld, which is a way that Jupiter in Cancer can also work with the emotional energy. But this feels like a potential trigger point of something that needs to be released, expressed, or discussed. There could be a lot more that pours out. That cup runneth over with Jupiter in Cancer squaring the sun and the moon. Big emotions may be released, strong responses, big reactions. It could be that there's a bursting point that reveals itself. Other interpretations here of the Libra full moon is that you find yourself guided to do something very strongly because your intuition is sensing that it's time, or the energy is available, or that there's an opening here that's occurring. And I'm feeling that strongly because right after the Libra full moon, Mercury in Pisces is going to trine that Jupiter in Cancer at 15 degrees for the third and final time. And this is because Mercury was previously retrograde in Pisces. So whatever you have been working through, contemplating, perhaps simply waiting and trusting and allowing something to be evident, this Mercury in Pisces is where we can't even find the words to say something, or we're seeking to understand it, but it feels like it just keeps dissolving or moving away. It can be hard to grasp exactly what needs to be written, spoken, or said with Mercury and Pisces. But as this trine to Jupiter in Cancer occurs on April 3rd, there is new emotional support for what you need to express or communicate in some capacity. This is also heightening intuitive energies. It's heightening emotional understanding. Even I'm seeing conversations between hearts. So if someone's in your heart, or if you're feeling something that feels very kind, warm, empathetic, loving, this is the energy signature here of Mercury the messenger seeking a way to move it out of your individual energy field. If something has been on your mind, Mercury trining Jupiter can help you share it and understand the emotional impact of it, since this is occurring in water signs. So I do feel that plays into this April 1st Libra full moon, where there could be even more here that's actually more emotional than what meets the eye, but it's sort of bubbling under the surface or moving within you. The Libra energy is also bringing our attention to awareness of other people's experiences. That's part of Libra, the other, where you might have a sense of, well, how is this impacting people? Or how is this being received? How is this being communicated? There could also be new connections between how your energy field, which is the Aries presence, is connecting with others and influencing them. And just a simple recognition of other people in your environment, in your world, in your space. Libra energy is social and friendly. It's who you say hi to and have a short conversation with as you go about your day. Libra is customer service. It is the energy that wants to help figure something out and solve a problem. Libra energy is also one that just wants to know, how are you? What's going on? What's happening in your world? And so you could feel that there are more conversations happening around this full moon, and that you have more interest in understanding how people's experiences are different than yours, where we are all residing here on the same planet, but we are all in very different energies, different timelines. We are all in our each unique energetic algorithm. And so we're moving through our everyday experiences simply with a focus on our own pathway and priorities. But Libra expands that out and wants you to interact with others, to hear how they're doing, and to open up your awareness of them. This is part of the balancing of the energy between the Aries-Libra axis. And we have a lot of planets in Aries right now that are perhaps bringing you into greater intentionality of what you want to create, what you're ready to initiate, as well as the energy you are purposely bringing forward. And that's one way to see this Aries energy at this time. Now, we also still have Saturn in Aries sextiling Pluto in Aquarius at 5 degrees of each sign until April 5th, when Saturn then moves on to 6 degrees of Aries. They will still be in a sextile throughout all of April. But what is occurring now is concentrated energy, an intensity here to what is being started and initiated that is moving you forward beyond what you can control. That is part of the Pluto influence here. Pluto is that powerhouse sense of energy that is revealing what has staying power, what might be lighting you up and inspiring you, what's connecting you to a bigger energy field and a higher vision. And so we have been discussing this sextile for a bit here on the podcast. That's because it has a very intense energy marker. So you want to look at where you have 5 degrees of Aries in your chart. That's where Saturn is stabilizing, structuring, and concentrating your intention into a new form and receiving support from Pluto in Aquarius at 5 degrees in your chart. And wherever this Pluto is where you are facing fears around what you're here to do in the world, what you're here to offer and expand, how this lifetime is different for you than previous lifetimes, and that you have support in developing and growing whatever that soul purpose or soul mission may be. So very strengthening energies here. And keep in mind that with the mix of fire, Aries, and Aquarius, air, it could be that a lot is going on, but it's not concrete yet, meaning it hasn't formalized into physical evidence. You could just be feeling it or sensing it. You could be getting some big messages around where to go next, what to do, what's calling to you, what you need to figure out or explore because it's essential for you. So of course, this looks different for everyone, but this is part of the bigger aspect in the background that is forming our forward directions. So do keep in mind that there's a lot here that wants us to birth anew. This is where the Aries energy begins something in our lives. And here in April, it's quite pivotal because of all the planets in Aries. So not only is that Saturn in Aries and the Sun in Aries, we also have Neptune in Aries, Chiron, Eris, all in Aries, plus over the next few weeks, Mars enters Aries April 9th, Mercury enters Aries April 14th. And all of this then leads us to the Aries new moon on April 17th, where we have 8 planets and points there in Aries. So there is an anticipatory development in place here. There is a lot accumulating that wants you to have a new start. The universe is supporting you in moving ahead. And I do feel this tied to the fire horse energy of this year, where you might feel like you are gathering things together, ready to take off, ready to gallop ahead, because the energy is building and the momentum will be there. Now, keep in mind, also, this accumulation of energy in Aries is asking us to be highly intentional around how we use both our emotional body and our sovereignty. There can be a lot of fire here. There can be a lot that gets you excited and motivated and inspired. But there's also a need to ensure that what you're saying yes to and what you're initiating can go the distance. That's part of this Saturn in Aries influence, where even though there's a lot bubbling up, or maybe you're just feeling like there's a lot of possibilities here, a lot I want to do, Saturn in Aries is going to bring your attention to what you can focus on, what you realistically have time for, and to pace yourself accordingly, to not take on too much, to not say yes to everything, to ensure that what is calling to you is in alignment with what you currently want to build, grow, create, and develop. That's the practical lens here of Saturn. And in the fire signs, it can feel like it takes a minute, it takes a beat to really make a choice that's going to stick. So I feel that this is an important influence here as we move into April, is that for all the ways you could be ready to go, there's going to be some things you have to say no to, that you have to realize, I don't have time for this. I'm not interested in this. It's not part of my new direction. And that would be something to keep in mind, to even ask yourself, is this associated with this new 30-year cycle? Yes, 30-year cycle that Saturn in Aries is ushering in. And is it going to take you into new areas of personal awareness, self-understanding, higher levels of consciousness, and new areas of potential? Is this part of your next chapter? And so think of it as this Saturn is going to show you what is not, what is out of alignment, what doesn't fit, what doesn't even feel like it relates or resonates to who you are and who you're becoming. I think that's going to be an interesting side effect here of April, is that people are going to be pivoting and moving in these new directions. And at the same time, they're going to realize what they've worked through that has fallen off and fallen away. And there could be things that close out gracefully, that simply are no longer an impact, relevant, or even on your radar. I mean, there's things that just can't touch you. They're not anywhere near your timeline or your energy field. And that might be surprising too, where you just sense how much you've internally shifted and grown, and now you start to see it in the physical. So keep in mind, big Aries energies also mean you will need to be giving your no thank yous. I have to decline, it's not for me, and to ensure that you're doing that from a very strong, empowered place. Now, also coming up over this next week, on April 3rd, we have Venus in Taurus squaring Pluto in Aquarius at 5 degrees. Now, this square is also part of the Libra full moon, and it's important because Libra is ruled by Venus. Venus is now in her favorite earth sign of Taurus, where she is feminine, grounded, receptive, creative. Venus loves being in her home sign of Taurus, where she can stabilize her energy field, come back into her core self, calm the nervous system, and listen to what she needs now. Venus in Taurus supports your self-worth and grounding that into your energy field, feeling stronger in your self-love, self-confidence, self-value. Venus in Taurus knows what she likes. This is fixed earth. She knows her favorite comfort foods and what she prefers in the interior design. She's aware of her style, her presence, her sense of self, and she feels strong about it. That's what a powerful Venus in Taurus recognizes. She recognizes her self-worth and self-respect first, and she operates from a beautiful place of self-love that says, I'm worth this. I'm worth this. I am worthy of living a life I love and I'm passionate about. Venus in Taurus seeks pleasure and she's sensual. And she wants to feel alive in her body and being connected to her five senses. So she moves through the earth with that level of awareness. And there could be things that are newly brought into your self-awareness and your personal environment that you're understanding, this is really good for me. This is supportive of my nervous system and my needs. This comforts me and calms me down. This is where you put on your favorite music or you're drawn to your favorite creative pursuits because they allow you to enjoy the best of who you are. Now, what occurs this week is Venus squares Pluto in Aquarius at 5 degrees. It's exact on April 3rd. And this is where something's got to give. Something has to change. This is happening in the fixed signs where Venus in Taurus doesn't want to give up something she adores, but Pluto in Aquarius says this doesn't fit with where you're going. It's time to release this because it now costs too much to her energy. So yes, this can mean financially or monetarily. Venus in Taurus rules how you make money, what you own, purchase, and accumulate, how much you're willing to spend on something because you want it and you adore it. And so this square to Pluto could bring your attention to what now costs too much, where you need to cut back or simply allow time to pass and then maybe return to it. So there is something that intrudes upon the Venus in Taurus typical routines. Something is brought to your awareness that it's not in alignment with maybe your current value systems. So if it isn't financial, maybe there's something that you're assessing here and you realize this doesn't align with my self-worth and my self-love. This is not a part of my future. And Pluto in Aquarius is directing us to future potentials and bigger life visions that we wouldn't normally see or come across. So there's a challenge here that Venus in Taurus is on the receiving end of. It's a pressure point. And in this square, Pluto is the stronger influence. So Pluto wins, which means Venus has to face a fear. There could be a fear of loss, which is something that the Taurus energy is typically afraid of. A fear of loss because Taurus is about accumulation and what you own. So the fear is the opposite thing, right? The fear is, what if I don't own this? What if I don't have this? What if this isn't mine? And so that could be something that you're dealing with, especially at a psychological level with Pluto. So again, this is exact April 3rd, but the energy is quite pronounced on April 1st during that Libra full moon. So you might realize something is no longer important to you starting on April 1st into the first few days of April. You're realizing I can use less of this. I don't need this. I don't have to buy this. I also feel this is where we're starting to feel more of the economic impacts and effects of rising oil prices that then affect imports, exports, consumer goods, manufacturing, shipping, multiple areas of our lives. So this first week of April is where there's going to be more people aware of their own finances, of what they're spending money on, and where they're realizing they need to cut back or let go. Then on April 5th, we have the Sun in Aries making an exact square to Jupiter in Cancer, now at 16 degrees. This is the square that was also present during the Libra full moon, but now the Sun is having its one-on-one conversation with Jupiter in Cancer. And this can be a triggering, activating energy that pulls in some of those themes that I previously mentioned around feeling a lot lot that relates personally to your needs and who you are. That's the sun in Aries. The sun in Aries is where your new sense of self is coming alive and perhaps feeling like it's newly aligned with what you want to start and move towards. Then that square from Jupiter in Cancer brings up what you have been feeling and holding, perhaps what you have been energetically containing, and the square wants to release it in some capacity. Jupiter in Cancer can relate to anything from the past, whether that is the past few months, past few years, past few decades. It is the energy that takes you into where you've been and where you come from. It also holds a memory bank of your emotional imprints. So you could have something come through that you realize it's not even of this timeline, but it wasn't energetically complete for you. Jupiter seeks to understand, what is this feeling? What is this about? What is this teaching me about my personal internal world? And so you could have new insights here around your lineage, your ancestors, your family tree. You could have new understandings of your life path, emotional patterns, emotional energies that you've been feeling and holding for a while. This even feels like an important turning point in those themes because the sun in Aries wants new, wants a rebirth. And I feel like the square here from Jupiter in Cancer, which also wants growth, is requiring courageous emotional growth in some capacity. And Jupiter in Cancer can feel vulnerable, self-defensive, overly open, overly raw. And there's something here where that sun in Aries provides the courage and strength to be yourself and to step into those parts of yourself that maybe you thought you couldn't show or reveal. So I'm feeling like there's big growth bursting through April 5th when that sun in Aries squares Jupiter in Cancer at 16 degrees. And it could feel messy, but it also feels lighthearted. There's something lightening about it, especially since both planets are exalted here. The sun in Aries is exalted. Jupiter in Cancer is exalted. This could feel joyful. It could feel like a positive turning point. It could feel like something is overly done, but it's humorous. That's how Jupiter also acts. Jupiter loves humor and laughs and lightness. So there's something that could be reaching a pressure point. Now, this occurs on Easter, Sunday, April 5th. And so there could be a lot going on with family gatherings, big meals, and people coming together for all those egg hunts. There could be a lot more eggs out there in those fields or in those parks. But this is essentially a powerful growth opportunity. April 5th, Sun in Aries squares Jupiter in Cancer. Maybe there's something coming out, and I'm feeling this too now through the masculine and feminine energies, that Jupiter in Cancer brings forth the feminine power and feminine flow of truth that could even flood a conversation or an experience. It does have an amplified energy to it. But again, it does feel joyful, happy, positive, and humorous. Now, after this aspect on Sunday, April 5th, we have a few days where there are no major aspects occurring until April 8th. April 8th is when Mars in Pisces finishes up his journey through this 12th sign and makes a final sextile to Uranus in Taurus, also at 29 degrees. This is a release point and a grand culmination of whatever that Mars in Pisces has been surrendering and allowing. There could be a sense that now I trust the next steps to move forward. I trust that the path is going to present itself and that the past is complete. As Mars gets to 29 degrees of Pisces, it is that final degree point in the whole zodiac wheel that I've been talking about for practically 2 years now, simply because both Saturn and Neptune have been moving across 29 degrees of Pisces. And so here comes Mars asking you to energetically, emotionally, intuitively, and spiritually release whatever has been closing out for you for the past 2 years. And so this is more significant than other closures. This means there is some big karma dissolving, some important spiritual lessons are completing. And as Mars moves through this point, you could feel it differently in your body, simply because Mars is the body. And you might feel that you're lighter and more open. You might sense what you have beautifully transformed and alchemized. You could even sense here that you have been set free at a very deep level. And that's part of the sextile to Uranus in Taurus at 29 degrees, is that there is a sense of feeling renewed, feeling liberated, feeling like, yes, I'm done with that, whatever that might have been for you. And I feel too that there's one more part of our energy field that will have a similar experience. That will be Mercury. When Mercury in Pisces gets to 29 degrees, coming up on April 14th, Mercury will also be moving through some final closures of the mind, what you've been holding or thinking about, maybe what you've been spinning in or trying to get the right understanding of. This is where Mercury will come through and then finalize those energies. So this is an interesting, softer influence where you might even sense that as you're sleeping, energy is dissolving and you are transcending away from something. I feel this goes along beautifully with what I mentioned earlier about these new parts of yourself that are stronger and more alive, and therefore other versions or other parts of yourself are softer and more complete. I'm feeling the energy here too of forgiveness and compassion, particularly any self-forgiveness or self-compassion that you owe to yourself or that you deserve simply by being a human, simply by being an imperfect individual moving through this world with the best of intentions, doing the best you can, and then knowing that that's all we can do at times is our best. And I feel like there could even be something falling away that no longer resonates. And of course, trust how this feels, but this could be people, individuals, past partners, past relationships, past friendships, past dynamics of any kind. This could also be situations, experiences, work environments, duties, titles, anything that is no longer attached to your new, bigger sense of self, because it looks like I'm seeing Velcro. I'm seeing some of these Velcro strips, they just no longer attach. Almost like if something, someone, or an energy was previously Velcroed to you, there's no longer those connection points, because in order for the Velcro to work, both sides have to be lined up and compatible. They have to be a match. And I'm seeing that something is not matching up. And I'm seeing that one part of the Velcro, this is so silly, one part of the Velcro on your side is now bigger. It used to be like maybe a smaller patch, and now it's bigger, and anything small is no longer a match for this bigger Velcro energy field. It feels like if you've been growing through something, if you have allowed yourself to expand, April is the month when you're going to see that show up. You're going to have that demonstrated, and you're going to also feel what is able to fall off and fall away more effortlessly. And so keep in mind, this is not something from the mind. This is not even something emotional. It's energetic and spiritual. It's validation of the new choices you've made, of the new desires you have. It's validation of what you've already been through. And it's funny because I'm feeling this also as a spiritual bodyguard that's like, no, you're not going back to that. No, that isn't correct for you. No, this isn't even what you want anymore. You want something more expanded and bigger. And that's part of what's coming through in April because of the energetic changes that have happened. Because I'm feeling like there could be something pulling on the heartstrings, or there could be a remembrance like, oh, this is what I used to love, or oh, I used to adore this person, or oh, I really thought this was for me. So there's something in that Jupiter in Cancer frequency that could be pulling on the heartstrings, reminding you of what was good about it, of what you loved, of what you've enjoyed. But I'm feeling with these energies, everything's about the forward motion and the forward movement that supports your individual growth, and that some people, chapters, roles have supported us in getting forward, in moving ahead, and even defining what we want next in our future. And as I say that, I'm seeing the visual of being in a car and that the front windshield is so big and the rear view mirror is so small. And so you could just energetically check in. Does this align with the expansive road ahead and the windshield and where I'm going next? Or is this something catching my eye, catching my energy from the rear view mirror of where I've been that has helped shape and form me? And I think that's going to be a big part here of also validating how much you've grown and what has been happening quietly and internally beneath the surface. Because it's fair to say that people don't know or see our internal shifts. They don't know when our consciousness has expanded or when a part of us has elevated. That's something we experience personally, and we don't always know how to explain it or even how to put it into the appropriate words. So there's a lot going on here that has been operating in the unseen, and April is where you're going to start to see it. You're going to start to see it because it's going to feel different now than how it did previously. Almost like when somebody wants to reconnect and you can remember the good times together or what you shared or what you had, and it brings alive these really joyful energies, but they're not sustainable. They don't translate into the present moment or the future as maybe they once did. And so I'm also feeling like this is going to be a month where we also see our own personal growth. You're going to see where you have put in the time, energy, and effort to become a more full, self-loving, honest version of yourself. And conversely, you might see in other people where there are now big chasms and gaps in your journeys. In other words, you're going to see who hasn't or who is just on a different timeline and a different trajectory. Of course, no judgment around that. Everyone chooses for themselves and operates at their own speed and in their own way. But I think that's going to be simply part of what comes alive even more this month. And so do keep in mind, you might be sensing that in your own personal relationships and dynamics, especially with this Libra full moon. It could show where you were unfulfilled, where something wasn't enough, where there wasn't enough depth or connection, even where there was a lack of balance in healthy dynamics. Because there can be healthy interdependence. There's also unhealthy codependence. There can be healthy independence and unhealthy hyper-independence. And so we all can see that more clearly through the lens of the divine mirror. So maybe you're realizing what you're changing in relationship patterns or in your own needs, and that's part of what is ushering you forward here in April. So however you are feeling and sensing these energies, wishing you a beautiful, happy April. It's going to be a memorable month. And just a few things to share with you here before I sign off. The first is that I'm going to move into doing the podcast on Mondays and Wednesdays only again. That's because we have moved through a lot of astrology here in 2026, and I added the Friday show to stay on top of it all. I'm going to return to doing Mondays and Wednesdays only, partly because of everything I have going on here over the next few months, but I will still continue to have more videos for you on YouTube discussing these energies. And then the second announcement is about the Crystal Pyramid experience. I'm so excited to meet so many of you in these 7 different cities around the US. Starting here in April, many of you are on the waiting list for Ojai, California, and we're going to be sending you an email here sometime this week with an update on the Ojai event. We also have a number of cities that are almost sold out. So just know that because this is selling so quickly, and even if your city isn't until June or July, I just want to give you a heads up that space is limited and that we only have as many seats as the venue allows. But I can't wait to meet you and also to bring together people with shared passions, to find others who also love astrology and this type of consciousness and spirituality. So that is one of the driving intentions of doing these in-person workshops, is for you to meet each other, make some new friends, enjoy some time together, and also, of course, go into some of these new energies I want to share with you in your astrology chart. The Crystal Pyramid experience is going to be working with galactic energies, cosmic codes, higher frequency energies, and support us in preparing for how the planet is changing going forward. I'm going to take you into more evolved understandings of what's available for you in your chart. And I hope this helps you ground in and stabilize these higher frequencies so that you're ready for everything that is unfolding into 2030 and beyond. This is information that I was guided to share, that has been channeled and laid out for me through my galactic team. It's been really fun getting these downloads and organizing and structuring the information so that it makes sense, because sometimes when it comes through, I'm like, okay, but I have to make that teachable, or I have to be able to explain that. So it's been fun to work through all that, and I'm just really delighted that I'll be able to teach this and offer it to you starting this month, where I will see you in Austin. And I know you have asked about there being an online version of this experience, and there is not one yet because this energy needs to be felt and co-created together. That each of these gatherings is important for how it brings people together, strengthens community, amplifies co-creation frequencies. So this is going to be an in-person experience at this time. And if I have updates on how it evolves into an online experience, I will certainly share that with you at that time. So wishing you a beautiful start here to April. Hope you have a lovely Libra full moon. And as always, I'll be back and we will keep sharing more about this astrology as we move through the month. Wishing you a beautiful Easter if you celebrate, and I'll see you back here soon. Take good care.